All right, so I'm back in the garage, buttoning up this commuter car. It's kind of one of these things that at this point I've driven it back and forth to work for 2 weeks and haven't really had any issues with it, and it's been running real good since I've done the work that I need to do. But as far as making sure that this car is going to run carefree, for a while without any major concerns, there are a couple things that I do want to change just as far as general maintenance. So one of the things that I do that is a good practice with buying a car is checking all your rotating components. So things like your alternator, things like your air conditioner compressor, idler pulleys, belt tensioner pulley. And an easy way to do that is to use a long screwdriver like this. And basically what you do is with the motor running, you touch the component. So this idler pulley, I would touch right here on this bolt where it's not rotating, and stick my ear right on the end, and it acts like a stethoscope, and you can hear the bearings in the pulley or in the component like a distributor. The distributor, you'd want to put it on the casing. The air conditioner compressor is underneath right here, and you can put it on the casing as well. Just keep the screwdriver away from the belt, keep your hands away from the belt, and stick your ear right on the end of the screwdriver, and it'll act like a stethoscope. And what you want to hear is kind of think about the whoosh of a fan when it's running on high, that clean kind of just whoosh of a fan. That's what you want to hear. So when I was looking at this car to buy it, I did that, and I listened to the alternator, I listened to the air conditioner compressor, and they sounded good. They sounded like, not quite like a whoosh of a fan, but not anything to be concerned about. However, when I listened to the idler pulley right here, it sounded like I turned over a skateboard and spun one of the wheels. I could just hear that. That's kind of what it sounded like. So I'm going to replace this pulley on the idler pulley, and I'm going to replace the pulley right down here on the tensioner arm, because it sounded not as bad, but it did sound like it was not quite as bad as a roller skate wheel or a skateboard wheel, but it did sound, you can see this better if I move this guy, but this is the idler pulley, and I'm going to replace both of these. But they both sounded like they need to be replaced, and this is something that most people don't replace. But if those bearings and this pulley decides to seize, you can tell that's going to be a huge problem for the motor, because this belt is what drives all the accessories on the front of the motor. So if it goes, or if this seizes, this belt's going to get thrown, and then the whole motor is just going to have lots of problems, leave me stranded on the side of the road. So I'm going to replace it. The other thing that I'm going to do while I'm in here, because I got to take this belt off, and this belt's actually in pretty good shape as far as belts go, and we can tell that if you look here, it's not cracked along the bend, and that's what you'll see with belts as they get old. They'll get hard, and they'll start to crack along these ridges, particularly when you look on the bends, and when they get real bad, you'll see chunks missing out of it. But this belt's a little glazed on the outer surface. I'm not going to throw it away. I'm just going to put it on a shelf somewhere. But I bought a new belt, and it was cheap. So since I got to pull this off anyway, I'm going to go ahead and replace it. And this will be just another thing as far as, doing things the right way and just having a worry-free, going to start every time and not leave me stranded on my long commute to work. All right, so to get the belt off, it's pretty easy. You can see that the tensioner pulley is putting tension on this side, so I want to rotate it away from that tension. So I just put a wrench on it, and I try to get one that's long, that fits, and I just press down on it. You can see how it rotates it out of the way, and I can pull that belt off over the pulley. A lot of times you like to do the tensioner pulley last, but because of the way the wrench is, I'll actually pull it off the idler pulley. And I'll leave the belt in place in reference to the other pulleys that are running down around the rest of the motor and pulleys underneath, just so that when I do replace it, I know the the orientation of the belt. Sometimes it's run in there. You can see it's looped around quite a bit, and keeping that straight and remember exactly how it was run can be a pain if you don't do it right away. So I'll swap these pulleys and then remove the belt completely. But once I get the belt off, it's just a matter of pulling these bolts and that bolt to get them off, and we'll go from there. All right, so I got the belt off, and if you listen, you can see, or hear rather, that roller skate sound that I was hearing with the screwdriver. So I'm going to replace that guy. Now, I am going to replace this one too. It doesn't sound bad when I spin it, but it does spin a lot. So it spins very freely. And what that means is that the grease in that is all gone, and will soon start sounding like that guy too. So I'll go ahead and replace both of these at the same time. And while I'm showing you, I bought 2 sets. I went cheap and bought the whole idler arm assembly from a vendor on Amazon, and not really happy with it. I thought this would be easy because basically replacing it's super easy. I just take this one bolt out, put the whole unit in, and I'm done. But as you can see, it spins good, so the bearing has good grease, but the surface is nicked and marred. There, and there, and here again. And I can feel it with my finger. So what that means is that the belt's going to feel that, and that's going to start eating up the belt. So I'm not going to put that guy in. I just bought a nice pulley from Rock Auto, and it's a good brand, Dayco, which is what is the factory spec OEM supplier. So as you can see, when I spin it, it doesn't really spin that well because it's packed real well with grease, and that's what you want to see. Now, I also bought this pulley from the same cheap Amazon vendor because it was like 15 bucks, but it's plastic, and I don't want to put a plastic pulley on there because that's just something else to worry about, and it spins pretty freely, which means that bearing isn't packed very well with grease. So again, I bought this Dayco one. It's basically the same one that's been on the car, and that's probably the one that's been there since 120,000. But you can see it's a nice heavy metal pulley, and it spins has some resistance, meaning that bearing is very well greased, sealed in there, and it's going to be a good replacement piece for it. So I'll go ahead and return those cheap ones, but I'm going to put these nice pulleys on. All right, so nothing special here. They're not reverse thread or anything, so I'm going to loosen them up, and you can see I got those both already broken loose, and I'll take them off. They're already broken loose. One thing that I will show you is that when I do this, I used the breaker bar on this one, but I had to use the box wrench down here because this gap I couldn't get anything other than a box wrench on here. But when I put this on here, this is a rather short wrench, doesn't give me a lot of leverage, and also when you push real hard, this always digs into your hand, which is uncomfortable. And so it's just easier if you put this on here, and then if you use another wrench and loop it in just like this, it'll allow you to have extra leverage to turn. So actually I would put it on this way, so it's a nice straight arm. But what I can do now is push on this nice flat part and have all this extra leverage to break that bolt loose, and that's what I did down there on the pulley. That's the tensioner pulley. So I'll go ahead and get these things off the car. All right, so just to kind of beat a dead horse, this is the old pulley, came off. You want to make sure that it's the same. So you take the new one, and this one's a little wider, but that's not going to be a problem because this depth is the same on the back here. So all that means is that this is going to sit a little wider on the pulley. But as you can see, it's just because of this wider radius, and that's not going to be a problem. It's the same diameter, and as you can see, this one spins quite easily. This one doesn't. Same with the idler pulley. The new one is the same diameter, same thickness, same number of ribs, and it has this lip just like the factory one. And again, we talked about how this one spins and you can hear it. Can't hear it as much on the table because my fingers are a natural dampener, whereas on the metal of the bracket in the car, there's no natural dampening occurring. So I'll go ahead and put these guys in. So I was getting a little paranoid looking at these pulleys, and I just got my scale out to measure things here. As you can see, this one is taller here, but I want to make sure that the important distance is this mating surface to the pulley. So checking this one, we can see that this and this, they're the same. I already measured them with my scale and an angle, but this one's a little bit different. You can see that there's a lip right here, but that lip isn't what sits against the surface on where it mates on the tensioner arm. This surface is. So I want to make sure that this surface right here is the same distance between here and here, so here to here. And what I do is I put this right in here. You can see that it's measuring up the same distance, and that means that this pulley will work. Also, the other piece of this that you're really worried about is if anything's going to contact when this pulley's spinning. Because this isn't ribbed, it's a lot more forgiving as far as that displacement, whereas this one, we need to make sure that these are identical, because if they're not lined up with the other pulleys because they're measuring different, it's just going to throw the belt off. So that's why I measured these distances to make sure that everything's going to line up the right way. Anyway, the point is just, even if you order the right piece, like this supposedly was the right piece from that cheap Amazon supplier, but if we look, we can tell that the offset is a little different, and it doesn't contain this stabilizing ring for the bush or the bearing right here. This is on both the factory and the Dayco replacement, but isn't on this cheap Amazon one, and that's another reason I'm not going to use this one. But it's always good to measure your parts, not just trust that they sent you the right one. All right, so I got the pulleys on, and they come with a torque spec. It's 34 foot-pounds. I don't have a torque wrench that goes to 34 foot-pounds. It's kind of right in the middle of the two torque wrenches that I have. But the reality is that if I just put this on nice and tight, give it a good snug, it should be good, because what happens is the pulley is actually running in the direction that tightens these bolts. So it's not naturally going to work against itself and want to back out, because the pulley is always running in the direction that tightens that bolt. So I give it a good snug, and well, I'll get that out later. And that same with this one, particularly with this one, because when you start to tighten it, all it's going to do is start to rotate the idler arm. So I want to just make sure it's on there good and tight, and should be good from there. And I'll go ahead and route the new belt, and this will be done, minus me digging out the ratchet that I just dropped down there. So one thing I always do too is I check my belts against each other, and the old belt should be a little bit longer than the new belt. This is the new belt here, this is the old belt here. And what I actually found is that the new belt is actually quite a bit longer than the old one. And I'm going to go ahead and install it and see how it installs, because I'm curious. You can see the difference in the depth of these ribs. This one's much shallower, and it fits on the pulley very nicely. So I'm wondering if those rib depths are going to make up for the overall additional length. And like I said, if it doesn't, then I'll just put the old belt back on, because after I pulled it off and inspected it, it's still in great shape. So, all right, well, curiosity got the best of me. I got the new belt and pulleys on, but if I take my hand and I try to rotate this, you can see that I can actually just pull the belt to move. And it's actually rotating on every pulley except the crankshaft pulley, which of course isn't going to rotate because that's the one that is driven by the motor. So what that means is that when this belt is running, the likelihood of it having full tension on all the accessories is low. So this belt is too long, and as you can see, I can sit here and turn it, and it's sliding over that crankshaft pulley. So like I said, curiosity got the best of me. I was curious if those ribs, if the dimension of those ribs was going to compensate. Obviously it doesn't. One thing I will show you is I bent this piece of rod, and this helped immensely in getting the belt on the pulleys down here. So luckily, like I said, the new old belt is still in good shape, so I'll go ahead and swap that for the old belt. All right, so I got the old belt back on, and you can see now if I try to turn it, I can't. That's the right tension, and you need, and like I said, since that belt's good, I'm just gonna run it. These belts usually don't snap. They'll start to fray and squeak, and it'll be easy to know when this belt's going bad, and I can just replace it in the future. So for now, this is good, and I'll go ahead and start it and see what it looks like. All right, so it's running. All my clearances are good. Nothing's rubbing. I know that the pulleys are right. Everything's turning. I've seen the air conditioner compressor turn on a couple times. That means it's getting good torque down there. So everything's good. Just why not? I'll go ahead and show you how I listen to that pulley. So put the screwdriver there. And they sound like they're supposed to. All right, so that's all done. All right, miss you guys. Love you.